In the ugliness of hair loss, it is truly the inside that counts. Well, mostly. I'm AKBS and this is Back to the Barber. Have you ever watched one of those movies with the plot of a bank robbery, but instead of the desperate criminals deciding to take their chances by going in blind, they flip a connect on the inside? The movie outlines are pretty similar. Some guy knows some guy or gal at the bank and they are promised a large, life-changing cut of the profit if things go as planned. We know the rest. It doesn't usually, and most of the team doesn't make it out, and maybe, just maybe, one lucky guy or girl, usually the most humble or decent of character, eludes capture and leaves the country to start over. Although it's a movie, we understand why the characters and even some real life people will look to having an inside source or an internal person, especially one with access and deep knowledge of its inner workings to guarantee success in this unsavory act. See, the bank manager or even the teller would have probably worked for this institution for years. They would know software passwords, security details, busy times, drop-off, daily processes and procedures, but most importantly, where and how to get to the good stuff, the money. No matter how good the bank robbing team is, or how much experience that they do have, having an insider accomplice is indispensable and could be the difference between parlaying in Puerto Rico and 20 years in prison. On this video, I'm going to give you some sound advice that will help you avoid the pitfalls and sidestep some mistakes that I have made in attempting to get my high school hairline back. I'm on my way, and I have no doubt that one day I will be undetectable as far as hair loss. However, there are some things that would have made my journey easy and shorter had I known what I know now. With that stated, one of the most important things that I have come to realize, even if it's a hard pill to swallow, pun not intended, is hair loss, like this bank robbery movie plot, is an inside job. I would go as far as to say that hair loss is 85% an internal issue and 15% an external issue, and I'm being lenient. You can also look at this as saying you should spend 85% on working on the inside and 15% working on the outside. Another viewpoint is to say that you should expect the bulk of your hair loss recovery or restoration, 85% to come from changes within the body, while the 15% minority hair loss recovery stem from external changes. Now, before you begin to question everything I've laid out before and your previous research, let me qualify what I mean by inside. When I explain what I mean by inside, and when you look at all the current typical hair loss halting regimens and or more successful solutions of hair loss, you will see that you are already aware of this fact. This video is going to shift the way you view hair loss restoration, and many of you will rethink your protocol, stack, or regimen. At the end of this video, I will give you some pointers and bonus information on how to hack this that will in turn help you to improve your hair quality, volume, and position you for regrowth. But let's get back to the point. Besides acid, or a strong solvent, or too strong chemical on the scalp, maybe a direct skin or scalp infection or disease by the way of a pathogen such as yeast or ringworm infection, most alopecias develop from the inside, an inside condition. Whether this condition is quick and harsh like alopecia areata for some, or telogen effluvium, or is slow and progressive like male or woman pattern balding, where it usually takes years before it's even noticed. The root cause of most alopecias are internal. This is what has made androgenic alopecia so hard to solve for scientists. Besides, the fact that it doesn't really exist in the way that we were taught, its true trigger or root cause is the internal, not external. Therefore, the best approach to solving it will be to focus on the inside. Like the police or detectives in the bank robbery movies, if it went too smooth, If they seem to know intimate details to pull their heist off, then they had some help behind the desk. When you look in the mirror and you see hair loss, thinning, balding, and hair fall, your next thought should be, what has went wrong internally that is so off balance that it's now showing externally? You can be rest assured this is the cause for many of you. I place my bet on the fact that you would have already reversed your hair loss if it was simply a scalp issue. Does this make one of my main points, which is scalp conditions must be met and maintained, while time considerations must be kept to secure gains, obsolete? No, and you will see why in this video. Your scalp conditions are just symbolic of the conditions elsewhere in your body. Unfortunately, but at the same time, fortunately, because would you rather for your car to not start in the driveway of your home or cut off while you're on the highway? Hair loss is an omen, a sign, perhaps even that check engine light that pops on warning you that something under the hood needs attention. It's that little emergency button under the bank teller's desk that alerts the cops. Your scalp conditions, although seemingly external, are the mirror to the internal. I believe that a human scalp is an inside out, upside down mimicry of the gut system and doesn't necessarily reflect our overall health, but it's a great gauge of the balance or conditions of organs such as the thyroid, lymphatic system, kidneys, prostate, heart, and more. When these systems are not at their best, usually our hair quality is not either. In any and most crimes, detectives usually interview the closest people to the crime just to get a general sense of the circumstance and those that can potentially be involved. In crimes such as bank robberies, everyone on the shift will eventually be interviewed, especially if the criminals are successful. Why? To rule out that it wasn't an inside job. When it comes to hair restoration, it's better to understand and accept that there's an 85% chance that it is. If this sounds off, let's look at the most successful popular methods of reversing hair loss. Finasteride, a daily pill that is consumed and blocks T conversion to DHT by the way of inhibiting 5-AR conversion. The makers believe hair loss is an inside job. Dutasteride, a daily pill that is consumed that blocks T conversion to DHT by the way of inhibiting 5-AR conversion and is said to be more potent. The makers believe that hair loss is an inside job. Minoxidil has been used topically for many years to help with vasodilation and circulation deterioration in hair loss. It is topical, but the consumable version is said to be more potent and better at reversing or halting hair loss. Like the manufacturers and even some physicians, many of you believe that hair loss is an inside job. PRP works by shooting the patient's own blood within the scalp in order to help with the healing of follicles and the growth of hair. This plasma is not rubbed on the scalp, but shot inside via a needle. Inside job. Hair pills, hair vitamins, nutrient shakes, supplements were all designed to be consumed and absorbed by the stomach in hopes that over time, their effect would go systematic. If hair loss is an inside job, which it is, anything just added on the surface can only be temporary, especially if not paired with internal therapeutics. Hormonal imbalances by the way of androgens or the thyroid, inside job. Dietary and vitamin deficiencies, inside job. We can go on and on and on. It's pretty obvious. Whatever is robbing you of your hair has an inside tract. Let me state what many of you are asking yourself at this moment. Does this mean that I'm wasting my time by applying topicals? No, not at all. Before I was aware of the magnitude of hair loss, I focused on topicals as well too. I still do, but with a different mindset I will explain shortly. The message that I am attempting to convey is topicals are important, but they are not going to fix the trigger, which is more than likely internal. If the root cause of the trigger is not pinpointed and removed, then our topicals are but placeholders. While they can be at the highest quality, you will see the cap at 15% when it comes to halting hair loss and restoration, whether they are natty or lab-based respectfully. This is why it's very important to place them in a correct order of importance when it comes to your protocol. Topicals are not meant to be the main character in this movie. Topicals are the supporting actress. If you remove the supporting actor or actress, the storyline will be confusing and kind of fractured. But if you remove the main character, Can you even call it a movie? What's the plot? Who knows? The same with hair restoration. I spent an inordinate amount of time focusing my camera on the supporting actress instead of the main character. I guess so you wouldn't have to. Topicals are used external, and the problem is the efficacy rate and or absorption rate through healthy skin is an issue. When those same topicals are applied to fibrotic, calcified, and hardened skin, then they work even less. You, like me, I have seen so many ads and videos on miracle hair growth when many of you, like myself, had no problems making our own shiny scalp oil. The reason why the oil sits on the scalp is because the skin it came out of incapable of reabsorbing it. So why use more oil? If you are tempted to target the trigger, then a topical won't do. Now you can use a topical to stop inflammation or to rid the scalp of acne, but those are the symptoms, not the cause. Thus, the topical is the supporting actor and the elimination of the trigger is the main character. If you're attempting to target the immune response and system, we know that more than likely the gut, stomach, or intestinal tract is the mastermind or culprit. You know, the people who just happen to cash their check at the bank, or the unfortunate soul that had an appointment for a loan that day, and before they knew it, they were sitting with their backs against the wall on the floor, handing over their cell phones. That's the scalp. If you're attempting to target hormonal imbalance, yes, you can use topicals for DHT inhibiting or even topicals to promote estrogens or DHEA. But we know from our commercial lab-based solutions, the internal hormonal imbalance therapeutics seem to be more potent, more popular, and have a greater impact on hair loss. The same with vasodilation and circulation. This pathway has the most products, both natty or human ingenuity, to increase vasodilation and circulation. But if you look at the bigger picture, in most diseases or imbalances, the internal medicines are usually the preferred treatment, and hair loss is no different. The reason why there are so many topicals on the market currently is because a digestible needs a prescription. If vasodilation and circulation did not have to be prescribed, many would ignore the potential long-term side effects if it meant the possibility of halting hair loss, not even restoring it. The mechanical physical changes of the scalp are both the causes and the effects of hair loss. This happens because while calcification slowly erodes the macro and micro circulation of the scalp, the less activity in the scalp, the more the scalp environment becomes locked and hardened. Fibrosis is the hardening of the skin, then that attracts DHT, then that causes more negative conditional changes. I spoke about the amplification and acceleration of hair loss between each pathway in a previous video. Check it out. But here's where we begin to turn this ship around. If we were in a bank robbery movie currently, this is where the detective finds that a certain seemingly innocent bank manager or teller seems to know way more about this circumstance than they previously mentioned. This is where the good guys get their breakthrough. You can continue using your topicals and even improve your stack as you gain more insight into the restoration process. But understand that your topicals are supposed to be the state holder in this process. The topicals are the sides, not the stake. They are the paint, not the engine. They are the apprentice, not the master. Your focus is on the internal. The topicals that you use essentially compensate for the offline and broken internal systems. Do you really think that you have a hair loss problem when many of you have hair growing out your ears, nose, and other unmentionable areas? In one of my pre-regimen rants, I remember asking myself out loud, how the hell is it easy to grow hair in there than on my head? Some of you know exactly what I mean. The internal imbalance just has manifested outward, and we are giving ourselves topicals to hold us over until the internal process works efficiently once again. In hair loss, you have to look inward because it is an inside job. Most of the tools that we use to enhance our hair growth or hardest loss, like derma rollers and electric massagers, are replicating an internal process. Stimulants are like the follicle booster shots, amplifying what should be working internally. Hair foods and topical nutrients compensate for the lack of nutrients being extracted via the follicles. Massages with our hands, gua sha, shampoos, all attempts to fix the internal issue. While we should continue to perfect our protocols or regimens, as that means we are better at compensating for the broken internal process, we should never consider it a replacement. As much as I love for the external to be the main character in a movie, it is not. Treating it as such is counterproductive and adds fuel to Father Time. The internal root cause becomes more prevalent while the symptoms become more severe, and pretty soon more systems get out of whack, attempting to fix it. DHT anyone? Is this why your hair loss is slowly getting worse, or you are not experiencing halting, yet alone regrowth? You know the answer to that, but all is not lost. As promised, there's a bright side to this and a way out. If I knew then what I know now, I would use the following understanding of hair loss. Bald skin without villus means miniaturization. Miniaturization comes by the way of DHT. DHT comes by the way of inflammation, and inflammation comes by the way of an autoimmune trigger. And fibrosis is the side effect of chronic inflammation, and where fibrosis is a shiny, bald, non-villus haired scalp. Now let's pull this apart so that we can use it to hack our hair loss problem. We need to basically jump in this circle by breaking the bald. In other words, start with the mechanical degradation reversal and use or focus on topicals to do just that primarily, while secondarily having hair growth in mind. People who suffer from hair loss and are unaware of this fact will try to stimulate hair growth topicals and provide more nutrients, and they will see results if their hair loss is mild. Let's say an omega scalp that does not have alopecia but uses bad products or may not have the healthiest lifestyle. Fortunately for them, even something simple as rice water will help their hair thicken. But for you, most of you listening, you have alpha conditions or prostate dominated or getting there. Thus, you are seeing visible signs of hair loss. In your case, you need to take bald to villus to terminal before you should even think about using stimulants on bald skin that's missing hair. When I am speaking about the inside job of hair loss, yes, if you can inhibit DHT internally, it would help. Yes, if you can add nutrient-dense shake or pill stack with things such as zinc, biotin, vitamin D, and more to your diet, it would help. Yes, if you can eat more foods that lower inflammation and increase vasodilation of blood vessels, it will help. Because of the nature of hair loss, all of our triggers could be different, and if we have some deficiencies or even systematic problems, what is going to be pretty similar for all of us, no matter, is the pattern of hair loss and the declining conditions of the scalp, which brings it full circle. What we can spend 85% of the time on, and 85% of the stack's purpose, and 85% of our supplement is to shift our alpha prostate dominated scalp environment to one of more uterine balance, conducive to the feminine follicles birthing terminal hairs once again. For example, if your scalp is unmovable and tense, focus on stretching it and massaging out the tension as it leads to hardened tissue. This should be a regular thing. If you can see that your crown is thinning, then that means that some of the main circulation pathways or vessels are being constricted on the sides of the scalp, more than likely the Gallia ring, because it can act as a tourniquet when the environment is calcified. Your topicals are supposed to relax scalp muscles, not just inhibit DHT. You will need to target the third layer of the scalp where most of the inflammation is hidden so the body can stop converting DHT. The topical inhibitor is the knockout blow. Removing the fibrosis through kneading and cupping allows greater circulation to be present in the scalp, which would then heighten the effects of minoxidil and or rosemary if you're natty. Just like scalp exfoliation and peeling will not only remove harmful toxins and unnecessary layers, that act would also increase your absorption rate of topicals, furthering your success. Hair loss has a compounding effect that I call the snowballing effect, like a snowball rolling down a hill and getting larger as it picks up more snow. Well, the reconstitution of the original scalp environment pre-balding, even at a slow pace, has that same effect, but the opposite. With every layer removed and every bit of fibrosis cleared, with every artery freed from the confinement and every follicle being cleared of inflammation, with every immune trigger eliminated locally, and with every DHT molecule inhibited, the body can begin to replace the subcutaneous fat stripped away by androgens, which means less dependent on topicals. Hair loss may be an inside job, and its root cause may elude us like the bank robbers, but one thing we can all agree on: scalp conditions must be met and maintained, and when they are, hair loss is halted and hair restoration is the side effect. Every bank robbery movie doesn't end with a happy ending, but I promise you that yours will if you prioritize the inside, the root cause or trigger, and formulate your topical regimen to assist with the rebuilding or resetting of the scalp environment to pre-ball and the reconditioning of the dermal layers to ideal over the hyper-focusing on hair growth. Topicals are already essential, but if you shift the understanding that they should be primarily used to reconstitute the original scalp environment, you are miles ahead of the traditionalist or mainstream approach in hair loss. It is truly an inside job because hair regrowth is a side effect of scalp conditions, and scalp conditions are but an external snapshot of internal conditions. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. Iron sharpens iron, and we only have each other. And remember, if I can do it, you all can do it too. Let's get you back to the barber.